Welcome to A Year of War and Peace. I'm your host, Brian E. Denton. A Year of War and Peace is a daily, year-long, chapter-by-chapter reading of and meditation on Leo Tolstoy's epic novel, War and Peace. In these videos and podcasts, you'll be treated to a free reading of one chapter per day of the novel, plus a reflective essay I've written individually tailored to that day's chapter. These readings are offered for free, though if you'd like to support me, you can do so in one of three ways. First, you could purchase my ebook, A Year of War and Peace. It features the entire novel, plus all of my reflective essays, and it's only $2.99 on Amazon.com. You could also become a patron at patreon.com/Brian E. Denton. If you sign up there, you'll receive a sonnet once a month, plus a link to an ebook of my collected sonnets. Finally, if you like, you can make a one-time donation to my PayPal account. The email there is brianedenton@gmail.com. You can also use that email to contact me. I'd be happy to hear from you. Your support is greatly appreciated. Today's reading and reflection is from chapter 324. Chapter 324. Next day, the field marshal gave a dinner and ball, which the emperor honored by his presence. Kutuzov had received the Order of St. George of the first class, and the emperor showed him the highest honors, but everyone knew of the imperial dissatisfaction with him. The proprieties were observed, and the emperor was the first to set that example, but everybody understood that the old man was blameworthy and good for nothing. When Kutuzov, conforming to the custom of Catherine's day, ordered the standards that had been captured to be lowered at the emperor's feet on his entering the ballroom, the emperor made a wry face and muttered something in which some people caught the words, "the old comedian." The emperor's displeasure with Kutuzov was specially increased at Vilna by the fact that Kutuzov evidently could not or would not understand the importance of the coming campaign. When on the following morning the emperor said to the officers assembled about him, "You have not only saved Russia, you have saved Europe," they all understood that the war was not yet ended. Kutuzov alone would not see this, and openly expressed his opinion that no fresh war could improve the position or add to the glory of Russia, but could only spoil and lower the glorious position that Russia had gained. He tried to prove to the emperor the impossibility of levying fresh troops, spoke of the hardships already endured by the people, of the possibility of failure, and so forth. This being the field marshal's frame of mind, he was naturally regarded as merely a hindrance and obstacle to the impending war. To avoid unpleasant encounters with the old man, the natural method was to do what had been done with him at Austerlitz, and with Barclay at the beginning of the Russian campaign, to transfer the authority to the Russian emperor himself, thus cutting the ground from under the commander-in-chief's feet without upsetting the old man by informing him of the change. With this object, his staff was gradually reconstructed, and its real strength removed and transferred to the emperor. Toll, Konovitsyn, and Ermolov received fresh appointments. Everyone spoke loudly of the field marshal's great weakness and failing health. His health had to be bad for his place to be taken away and given to another, and in fact his health was poor. So naturally, simply, and gradually, just as he had come from Turkey to the treasury in Petersburg to recruit the militia, and then to the army when he was needed there, now when his part was played out, Kutuzov's place was taken by a new and necessary performer. The War of 1812, besides its national significance dear to every Russian heart, was now to assume another, a European, significance. The movement of peoples from west to east was to be succeeded by a movement of peoples from east to west, and for this fresh war, another leader was necessary, having qualities and views differing from Kutuzov's and animated by different motives. Alexander I was as necessary for the movement of the peoples from east to west, and for the refixing of national frontiers as Kutuzov had been for the salvation and glory of Russia. Kutuzov did not understand what Europe, the balance of power, or Napoleon meant. He could not understand it. For the representative of the Russian people, after the enemy had been destroyed and Russia had been liberated and raised to the summit of her glory, there was nothing left to do as a Russian. Nothing remained for the representative of the national war but to die, and Kutuzov died. All right, that ends my reading of chapter 324. Let's pour one out for Kutuzov before we go to our reflection on the same. A Year of War and Peace, day 324. Put on your pajamas. Death is, so far, the subject of 19 A Year of War and Peace meditations. 6% of total meditations seems woefully inadequate a portion of consideration to offer an event 100% of us will experience. As Ovid, notable dead man himself, once wrote, Tendimus huc omnis, metam prosperamus ad unum, omnia subleges mores vocat atra suas. Happy, then, that Kutuzov's final act is to offer readers a virtuous example of how to proceed with this universal process. The passage describing Kutuzov's death is worth reading one more time in its entirety. Kutuzov did not understand what Europe, the balance of power, or Napoleon meant. He could not understand it. For the representative of the Russian people, after the enemy had been destroyed and Russia had been liberated and raised to the summit of her glory, there was nothing left to do as a Russian. Nothing remained for the representative of the national war but death, and so he died. With what ease he approaches his end. It's like he's putting on pajamas. Most of us approach death with at least a little trepidation, a little bit of fear and anxiety. For many others, this is the central worrisome preoccupation of life. But it doesn't have to be. We could be like Kutuzov. The question is how. If considered proverbially, we could say that familiarity breeds contempt. Contempt not in the sense of hatred, but rather total indifference. This seems to be the way Kutuzov estimated death. We should too. Daily meditation. Always think on death, in order that you may never fear it. Seneca, Letters from a Stoic. All right, so that concludes my reading and reflection on chapter 324 of War and Peace. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for listening. Remember that if you'd like to support me, you can do so either by purchasing the ebook A Year of War and Peace, becoming a patron at patreon.com, or making a one-time donation at PayPal. The links to all that are down below in the show notes. Tomorrow, we're going to be reading and reflecting on chapter 325 of War and Peace. I hope you'll join me. Until then, take care of yourselves and others.